So, Tom Jones, have you ever been ensnared by that animal magnetism, that Tom Jones magic? The host of Desert Island Discs, Kirsty Young, is in the papers today, quoted as saying that Tom Jones, Sir Tom Jones, pulsates sexuality. He does. She says she was grateful to be interviewing him for the programme in the autumn of his years because if he'd walked into her studio 30 years ago, she wouldn't have been responsible for her actions. Now, she talked of this animal magnetism and said, please close your ears, I can only imagine he's a killer in the sack, right? So what has he got? And can anyone else get remotely close? Now, I can only say, if you're of a certain age, okay, and you're a woman, do you get the Tom Jones magic? At his peak, just how good was he? How magical was he? Now, the only reason I know about this is because, actually, no, she's not listening, but my mother-in-law, at the peak of his powers, when Tom Jones appeared on television, she would kneel in front of the television and shed tears. That's how much he moved her. I kid you not. All right, so let's talk. You're going to love this, right? Let's talk to John Prescott, because John Prescott is the number one. That's a Tom Jones tribute act. Now, not that John Prescott, is another John Prescott. Thank the Lord. John, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very well, so welcome to the programme. John, you have studied Tom Jones, maybe in a different way to his female fans, but he has got it, hasn't he?
Oh, yes. And the best thing about it, he's stood the test of time, you know. So, he's carried on, and he's still with us today, you know.
What is it, John? Because, look, the reality is, as a voice, his voice has always been incredibly powerful, and it's not declined. Normally when you age, your voice changes subtly a little bit, but his last few albums have been amazing.
Yeah, it's a rare thing, you know, but he just seems to, he's got it, you know, and he's also moved with the times. He's just a one-off, as far as I'm concerned. You know, very difficult for me, because I have to sort of keep up with it, you know.
Right. What is fascinating, your name is John Prescott, which was making me chuckle, but you're the number one Sir Tom Jones tribute act. So
yeah.
How long have you been number one Sir Tom Jones tribute act?
Well, I think I started back in, 2001. I finished with a TV series called Merseybeat on BBC One, and I went into doing the Tom Jones, you know, because a lot of the people on the set were saying how much, you know, you resemble him, and you know, you should go into it. So this is what I did, you know.
So you started studying Tom Jones.
Yeah.
When you start the study, well, where do you begin? Because it wasn't just the voice; it was all the movements and the mannerisms.
The movements, the mannerisms, the twitches, the way he speaks, everything. You know, interviews, all that sort of thing. I had to sort of study the lot, you know, and then incorporate it in between the songs on the show, you know.
So now you are John Prescott.
Yeah.
How do I know? I know it's difficult, but how do I know when you turn into Tom Jones?
How would you know? I just walk in the room.
And it is you've got that similarity.
Yeah, it's like you know, you go out you go into a queue or a supermarket, and people, they just stare at you, you know, and you seem to get collared everywhere you go, you know, and you know, people wind people up, say Tom's in the building, you know.
I mean, Kirsty Young has been describing how, you know, if he'd been 30 years younger, she wouldn't have been able to control herself. And I mean, she finally gets Tom Jones now that he's in his 70s. I mean, go back 30 years, and this guy was dangerous.
Yeah, he was. He was a sexual icon, as they say, you know. But yeah, I just guess that I'm lucky to impersonate someone like that, you know.
Right. Now, when you have your concerts and you do your tribute act, John, what's the audience? I mean, do they react in the same way? Because Tom Jones, famously, of course, women used to, well, some men are less, but people used to throw things at him, mainly their knickers.
That's right, yeah. And they still do today.
Get out of here.
You know, they want to live it, you know, as it was, and I tend to get a lot of that on the shows. You know, they throw underwear at me and stuff. You know.
Now, if I remember rightly, watching all those sort of Saturday night TV shows, women would people would throw panties at him, and he'd be sweating and singing and dancing and dressed all in black, and the shirt opened up, and he'd pick up something from the floor, some knickers, and just mop his brow and throw it back on the floor, and the screaming would go crazy.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, he'd wipe his brow with it, throw it back in the audience, and then there'd be a fight, you know.
To get hold of the sweaty Tom Jones panty.
Yeah. God.
So the audience that come and see you, John, are they slightly more mature ladies, or are you attracting a younger audience as well, because maybe they're bringing their daughters and granddaughters with them?
There's a lot of sort of mixed audiences these days. I mean, I'm still getting like birthday parties for like 21-year-olds, you know, and of course then you know you'll get the older crowd, and it all varies. I mean, I'd say majority of it is like between 30 and 50, something 60, something like that.
And are they able to control themselves, even though you're the tribute act? I mean, or do they lose sight of the fact, and just because they think it's Tom Jones, I've got to go for it?
Some of them manage to control themselves, but then some don't. You know, they end up getting on the stage and stuff. You know, and yeah, I mean, they just sort of lose it. You know.
I'm sensing, John, that actually it's probably quite it's quite a skill to do what you do. But I should imagine it's say rewarding is the wrong word. It can have its own challenges.
Yeah, but you've got to sort of create the illusion that he did sort of 20, 30 years ago, you know, and you know, I find that you know, I seem to be doing okay, you know. Yeah. And
what kind of song would you go for? The old classics, and is that the stuff that gets people going?
Yeah. I mean, you got like Delilah, Not Unusual, then obviously through the reload phase where, you know, you're working with like the Stereophonics and people like that, so we do those songs as well. So it's sort of like a story, you know. The show is like, so you start off with some of the early classics and then end up doing the sort of the more up-to-date stuff, you know.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
John, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Would it be really inopportune of me to ask you just to give us a little sample of your Tom Jones?
Well, there's a lot of tunes on TomJonesTribute.com, yeah?
Right.
Live, so that would be the best sort of place to go for it, you know? Just to visit the site. I'm
going to play some Tom Jones very shortly. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
Carry on in your amazing career.
Okay, tidy.
John Prescott, who is the number one to Tom Jones, not that John, another John Prescott. He's the number one to Tom Jones tribute act. I mean, if you've ever understood what Tom Jones had, I'd love to hear your story. Chris in Dunstable told us his auntie used to go out with Tom Jones. I should imagine a lot of people around here would have gone out with Tom Jones. And the reason I know that is because at his absolute peak, Tom Jones had a TV show in the States, and on the Tom Jones show, they attracted, I mean, the biggest American names you can imagine, right? I mean, just the biggest stars, right? But that was all filmed at Elstree. So in around this area, without being too rude to Tom Jones and his animal magnetism, I should imagine a lot of women have gone out with Sir Tom Jones.